is meant to be a holistic one, meaning that all the fibers in your being, they take part in each and every moment of your life. But if for some reason some parts of is denied the experience, you become fragmented. So you're not completely at ease. There's tension. And so to some extent you're broken. And this is us in general in society. But most importantly, this is a picture of a large part of women of the last 3 generations in regard to their birth experience. Because since birth has been taken outside of the home, and since the focus has gone from the mother's experience to all these trivial calculations of the progress and like medical technology, women have sort of been denied the spiritual dimension of birth, which is just as valid and as important as every other aspect. So the birthing experience has to be lived from within in that state of surrender. You got to surrender to what's going on, because there is so much power going through your body when you're giving birth that if you're in the way saying, oh no, this is too much, you're going to break in half, or at least that's how you're going to feel. So you need to go with it, and you need to surrender. But that can only happen if your entire being agrees and opens itself up to the experience. You may be saying yes with your mouth. You may be even rationalizing the whole thing in your mind and agreeing to that because it makes sense, because you don't know what you're doing, this is the first time, and the doctor knows, and he tells you that usually you need to do this, or you need to place yourself this way, or whatever it is. And so your mind may be agreeing to it, but if your body is not, for whatever reason, your body's going to try its best to curl up into a ball like an armadillo, play dead, just anything, just not to feel the suffering. All of this, the bearing down from below process. So it becomes a fragmented event in your experience. So while your soul is like miles away, mustering the guts to kind of assist you in this legitimized yet practically unconscious rape that's going on in your body. I don't know, this might be intense, but this is kind of how I see it sometimes. So the work that you need to do is to ask yourself this. What do I feel? What is there that's there in my body, in my being, that I don't even feel anymore? And then you wait and you listen. And you ask it as many times as you need and see what comes up. If simply waiting is not your style, then there's many other ways to get to some answers. And basically it's anything that will get your creative juices flowing. You can draw it. You can write it. You can dance it. You can sculpt it, whatever. One thing that you can do is take out a sheet of paper and some pencils, colored pencils, and draw out the vision that you have of your birth. You can do it as many times as you need, like once a month until you get there, and see how it changes or how the same it stays. But I heard of this group of pregnant women that would get together regularly, and that's one thing that the facilitator asked everyone. So every woman had their time to speak, and they just said what they saw. What they saw, what they envisioned would happen. And it turns out that most of them That's what happened. So, if you have this fear inside of you that you're going to go through last minute emergency transfer to the hospital, cesarean, C-section, maybe that's going to happen because your thoughts keep going around that. Even if it's something that consciously you do not want to happen, you're afraid that it will happen, to some extent your body's experience doesn't know that. It doesn't know that you don't want that. All it knows is that it's going to recreate what you're thinking. That's powerful. It's like super powerful stuff. So what you need to do, your work, is to be honest with yourself. Ask yourself the right questions. What do I envision? What am I scared of? What if my worst fears would happen? Wouldn't materialize? What would happen then? There's all these things. You need to ask yourself these questions, and you need to be honest about the answers. You might be surprised what comes out. Sometimes we don't even know what is going on within ourselves. Or we've scratched the surface and that's it. Pregnant women, at least in my experience, are very in touch with the dream world. It's like when you're pregnant, your dreams, they go up to a whole different level. And I've remembered so many more dreams since I've been pregnant, and I've been writing them down. And it's just interesting what comes out of that. And so a lot of your fears, or anything that you're dealing with, consciously or not, they'll come out in those dreams. And so, yeah, that's another tool that you can use to kind of find out what's going on if it's too difficult for you. If I'm not making sense at all, tell me. It's still pretty raw, these thoughts inside of me, and so maybe my way of expressing it is not the ideal way, but still, that's how it came out today. So last week I've been talking about physical symptoms and emotional outbursts and making your household run more smoothly, but this is a whole different level, and this is actually something that touches me much more deeply. I truly believe that birthing a child is, before anything else, it's a highly spiritual experience, and that aspect has been taken away from a lot of women, and they don't become a victim of that per se, but I think it's time that we women take back that power and finally have the births that we want. Not the ones that we're afraid that we will have, or that we only think that that's possible, or that we only think it can be some sort of horror story that we need to go through. It's possible to have an amazing, amazing birth. That it's an experience that, that brings back every piece of yourself back into one, and all that power of creating life and bringing life forward into this world passes through you. Who wouldn't want that? I think as humans, as women, this is one of our rights. That's how we should live it. Alright, my opinion, but if you share that opinion, then please share that with me too. But nonetheless, I can be all like, yeah, power to the women, but nonetheless, I have fears too. We all do. Even if this is the second time I'm going through pregnancy and birth, I still this whole bunch of stuff that I'm dealing with inside myself. This is normal. I think pregnancy, the 9 months of pregnancy, is to prepare your body and to prepare your mind. But it's also a time to look inside deeply and to assess all these things that are kind of left underneath the surface. Because ultimately, I do have an ultimatum, and that's with the birth of my child. So that's it. Wrap it up, folks. Leave any comments that you want underneath, and I will see you next week. Bam.